I'm Genevieve Bargello.
And I'm Eileen Burst.
And this is CFB News.
Last night around 10:30 p.m., the community Clatfartburg pool had a break-in that was unlike any other seen at the pool. There are frequent break-ins, however, this one was a little bit spooky. The criminal hopped the fence, did not head for the register, did not steal anything, but got the hose and began filling up the pool. Police were immediately alerted due to the security cameras, and the culprit immediately ran away. However, there was something intriguing about this culprit. He was not wearing casual thievery clothes such as black sweatpants and sweatshirt. He was wearing what we might believe is some kind of suit. Genevieve Bargello has more news and interesting facts about this case.
Yes, I'm here at the site of the Clatfartburg public pool where the one man in question, believed to be Barnacle Crispin, the host of the local ghost tour run by the subsidiary of the Herbert's Historical Tours Incorporated. Barnacle Crispin is known for his distinctive outfit, the metal diver suit he wears on every tour. An illustration is seen on screen based on witness reports by the police. As you can see, the man's face is not pictured, and unfortunately, we do not have a photo of what Barnacle Crispin looks like beyond the mask. Perhaps his discovery will lead us to finding that out. When a neighbor of the pool saw Barnacle Crispin filling it up, they called the local police. They arrived about 10 to 15 minutes later when the pool was near being filled. Barnacle Crispin fled away with surprising agility for the metal suit and disappeared into the woods where police were not able to apprehend him. All that he left behind was a small piece of Laughing Cow cheese. If anyone has any information on Barnacle Crispin's whereabouts, please contact the Clatfartburg Police Department.
Thank you so much, Genevieve Bargello. Everyone, lock your doors and lock your pools. This has been
CFB News. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early
local citizens of Clatfartburg, it is time to exercise your right to vote and select the new mayor of Clatfartburg. We have two candidates for you to choose from, and in this special, we will be reviewing who they are, their campaign, their platforms, and main issues, and hey, any other hot gossip related to them. What we would also like to say, breaking the fiction here, is hey, maybe go actually real vote. You can go to vote.org to learn more about each candidate's platform and also check where you're supposed to go vote. So please, do that. And then after you real vote, guess what? You, the citizens of Clatfartburg, the listeners, will get to vote on which candidate will become the mayor of Clatfartburg. You can make a change, not only in the real world, but in the fictitious world of Clatfartburg, this world-building podcast that has decided to enter the political realm. Because it's not just about us, it's about the whole community. God bless.
I don't think I thought I was going to do that whole thing.
I don't. This is now entering Clatfartburg. I'm Elaine, and our vocalist
Felicia
today is Felicia. Yes, and we're the hosts of this podcast that is expanding upon the fictional town of Clatfartburg.
I think I got an adrenaline rush from doing that.
That honestly was like an espresso shot for me. I feel so alive and awake, and like I've never felt more patriotic in my life, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, we figured, America, presidential elections, etc., is on the horizon. And this was one of the first ideas we had also when we were planning this podcast was, wouldn't it be fun if we did the election for the mayor and then we had the listeners vote? So we're going to have a link of some sort in the description for you to go and vote for your favorite candidate. This will potentially affect things later down the line within the story of Clatfartburg based on what these candidates care about, how people react to them. And you know what? You can vote in good faith, what you may think will be best for Clatfartburg, or you can vote for the plot Maybe you want what's worst for Clatfartburg. And that's the spirit of Clatfartburg.
Exactly.
And so Felicia and I have each come up with a candidate.
We have not discussed these.
We haven't discussed them. So there is the possibility we end up creating the same character. I don't think so.
I went for a bold swing, so I'd be surprised if we had different characters.
Yeah, I think we'll be good. I'm very excited to see what you do. Our political, our candidates are also focused only on Clatfartburg issues.
Oh yeah, Clatfartburg is perfect on every issue you want it to be. Notoriously great on climate change. Great on social subsidies and social programs. Yeah. They've really got that stuff nailed down, so they are able to focus on the dumb bullshit. And that's all that Clatfartburg runs about. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And, you know, I asked earlier this week for people to send us if there were any platforms or things you wanted to know about your candidates. Send them in. And we did get a couple. So I'll throw that out for both of us. I haven't really read them at all. I just have seen that they came in. So I'll read out some of those and see how we think our candidates will work. And for mine at least, like, I'm still down for collaborative. Like also this isn't we're not choosing between us. We're choosing the candidate.
I don't care if my person wins, and I honestly I'm kind of like on them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm neutral.
Exactly.
I'm neutral to this woman.
Same.
Reveal.
Woman.
Girl power.
Yay!
Break the glass ceiling.
Oh my gosh. Great. So I think what I would like to first just establish is just a sliver of Clatfartburg political history.
Okay.
I really want Clatfartburg to really care about their mayoral elections. I find that in reality, a lot of people don't care about their local elections.
Which you should. You
should. Vote local. I mean, vote in general, but vote local. That has a lot of immediate change, right? So Clatfartburg, because they just care so much about shit, I imagine that this thing gets like, this is big news, and this is like, people actually care. Like, people are putting the signs in their lawns.
Their guard. Yeah. Their guard, famously.
Their guard.
Yep. I was trying to say garden. Yep.
So, yeah. So this is like, I like the idea of it being a big thing. We had actually, I wanted to shout out a listener who we had already planned on doing this, but happened to reach out on Instagram. This was from Lillian, and Lillian had said, I would love to know more about like the Clatfartburg City Council, who's on it, what niche town ordinances do they care about, is there drama? And so I feel like this is our first little toe into seeing how that was. So basically, we figure out this candidate later on down the road at some point, and as we do stuff, I think we'll get more flavor of that as well.
We'll get out the rest of the city structure.
We'll build a cabinet.
Do they follow the city planner structure that was established in Stanton, Virginia? Which I know because I went to school there, and they talked about it a lot in my poli-sci classes. Who knows?
I love it.
Get my half-finished poli-sci degree back out the fucking cupboard.
There it comes. Okay, and then let me know if this differs from the background you've created for your candidate. Is your person incumbent, or are they a new candidate?
Mine is a new candidate.
So is mine. Okay, I think Clatfartburg has had the same mayor for like ages.
Oh, okay.
So this is a pretty big upset.
I agree. Okay, that is more interesting than term limits. So
I think they've had the same person for a while, and now that person's like retiring. And honestly, I don't care about who they are. Maybe it'll come back, but you know, whatever. People really liked them, but they're retiring, and now it's like we got to grab their vote.
They probably, I will say, let's say they probably did a lot for advancing the public library of it all, because that feels like a big government project. So I think that was kind of their thing and kind of defining Clatfartburgian identity, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and think about all the big things that have happened, as time has gone on. So I think that this one is extra. It's an extra spicy election because people have come. They've tried to come up against the incumbent.
Right.
As elections go. So this one is extra because people are now having to like choose new sides essentially. And there's a whole voting demographic now up for grabs. So this is going to be really silly and goofy. So Felicia, would you like to introduce your candidate?
All right. So my candidate is known legally as Rebecca Martin, but in everybody's hearts, she's known as Mrs. Parsnip. Which, okay, did Elaine and I have a 10-minute conversation pre-recording where I was extolling how cool parsnips are because I've never had one before today, and I thought they were pretty good. Look, sometimes we draw from our lives, okay? We draw from our lives. But Mrs. Parsnip was the host of a public access TV show from 95 to '08. She was a farmer who lived in a town of wacky characters, many of whom were animatronics. She had a sidekick named Petra the Potato Cat. Not a cat made of potatoes. It was a cat who really liked them. He liked collecting them. So that's Mrs. Parsnip. And kind of her little thing is she's a good orator. She can talk to crowds. But she doesn't really know how to talk to adults because she's worked so hard in children's television programming only. So her presentations are a lot of holding books open to the crowd and like showing them. You know what
She's
I
like
mean?
doing reading time, but these are her speeches.
It's a lot of story time. Yeah, it all feels like story time. It all feels like story time. She will bring a puppet. You know what I mean?
Does she publish each of her speeches with illustrations then?
Absolutely, she does. Thank you for mentioning that. Because of course she does. I'm so glad you brought it up. She publishes all of them with speeches. All of them have little illustrations. And yeah, I would say none of her speeches are above like a third grade reading level.
Yeah.
Which, for better or for worse.
That's, easily accessible. I'm sure people like that.
And I think if the youth vote was involved, she'd be doing great. But there's a challenge when she's trying to present to adults, and she has been criticized for that. You know what I mean? But that's the basics of Mrs. Parsnip. That's my basic introduction to her. Also, she's not married. She's just called Mrs. Parsnip. Widowed? In fiction? Maybe. We don't know.
Ooh, we can find out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll see. Opposing Mrs. Parsnip. Parsnips?
Mrs. Parsnip, singular.
Mrs. Parsnip. We have Victoria Tori Cobbleton.
The women are duking it out.
The women are going to town. So Tori Cobbleton is around 56, and her entire background is in horology. That's right, the study of clocks. She makes clocks. She comes from a clock-making family.
Okay.
And she grew up working in the clock shop, like classic mom and pop clock shop. Do you ever enter Dr. Seuss mode and then you want to die?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Also, for the record, Mrs. Parsnip is 67.
Middle-aged woman fucking taking over the world.
Absolutely.
So what's really well known is like these clocks are like well made. They're classics. Like this is not owned by a bigger company. People know the Cobbleton clock is actually like a pretty well established thing. So they are small business, a family owned business, a small business. She knows the trade. She actually designed the clock tower that's downtown in Clatfartburg.
Huge.
Yeah. So a lot of people like don't really care about clocks, so they don't know that, but she's like really big on it.
Right.
Which will come back later. She's single, and she has quirky style. I think she's also not a great speech. Like, I think she can write a good speech, but she's not good at giving it the energy it needs. I would say it's very like I would imagine it would be like, okay, everybody, it's time to discuss the issues that are facing us today. Like, it's very monotone.
And then you have Mrs. Parsnip who's like, when you walk down the street, the people you meet are such a lovely tapestry of individuals. How can we improve our town? By being nice to our neighbors and by improving bike path infrastructure. Woo! Wow! You know what I mean?
So yeah, so some of in opposition to that, some of Tori's criticism is that she has no emotion. She can't relate to the people as well in terms of like winning them over with charisma.
Right.
She does not have that. What she has are like facts. It's just not pretty. Yeah. And sometimes it bores people. And when it comes to elections, sometimes people don't really care about the niche little details.
And Miss Parsnip is fact light, but she's entertaining. And you do feel condescended. And she wears a big hat all the time, just so everybody knows. Big hat, overalls. Does she always wear gardening gloves, or is that too much? That's too much.
Maybe some like lace gloves.
Lace gloves, overalls, big hat is Mrs. Parsnip. She's crazy.
She's great. If I think about, I imagine like Tori Cobblestone has like this like large like clock amulet that her father made her that she wears, and it's like it's like heavy.
It's like borderline Flavor Flav.
A little bit, but like old timey in a weird way. And she wears
Vintage
2 watches.
Yeah.
She wears 2 watches. And she hates digital clocks. Not about that at all. So, yeah, just a lot of clock stuff. And then after that, just your classic pantsuit, I imagine. So these are your possible mayors.
Wow!
Get stoked. It sounds like the town is going in a great direction.
I think there is a really small and not approved by the woman Nancy Pankin writing campaign.
Yeah.
She does not want this, but I think there is a small writing campaign for her.
I could see, like everybody, like her. I mean, let's be real. Nancy Pankin has fans in the community.
Yes.
People really look up to her. I could see some of them being like, "Is this really it?"
She's kind of the how some people want Michelle Obama to run for president. It's that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our one of the things we became prepared with is, do we want to talk about main issue or campaign vibes? I actually covered my campaign vibes, really, honestly.
Yeah, we can go. We can like quickly go through the campaign. Tori Cobbleton's.
I feel like I
campaign
did mine
motto
a little bit.
I think it's mostly my motto is "It's about time."
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, that's the only other vibe. Yeah, we basically covered that, so I think we're pretty good. We have very interesting crowds. I imagine the people who want Cobbleton to win are very like
Mrs. Parsnip's slogan is planting new seeds.
Oh, that's good.
So, do we want to discuss our main issues? Because each candidate has a big issue that they're running on.
Yes,
I have a few secondary issues. I have 2 secondary issues that are not really that important. So I'll give the secondary issues first. Number 1, she wants to continue funding for bike lane infrastructure extension, just because I personally wish more cities did that. So that's just one.
I agree.
Just more bike lanes. The second thing is she wants to shift subsidies away from animal agriculture to plant agriculture for environmental, because Clatfartburg loves their climate change. They're anti-climate change. I like always referring to it where it sounds like it could be pro or against. They love their climate change for ethical reasons, but also because of the cow army history. She feels that we could be heading towards another situation, and she wants to discourage that. And also, she has a history of she's Mrs. Parsnip. She's a farmer. Of course she wants more agriculture, non-animal agriculture. So that's what it is. So there's some criticism of her there, because it's like, is she going too far? Remember the whole slightly the non-dairy cheese that was introduced that had a stir from Barnacle Crispin? Yeah. Well, he didn't make it, but he talked about it. You get the point. Anyway, those are her like secondary issues. But the main thing she's running on is she wants to make a Clatfartburgian identity beyond Crispy the Talking Bass.
Whoa.
Big claim. And her one way she wants to do this is by establishing a Clatfartburg Cultural Hall of Fame. Obviously, Crispy will be featured, but to celebrate the other parts of the community, because she feels remiss that to outsiders, the fish is all it is, and she wants to, expand. There's a lot more here, and we value the individuals here. Is this a little bit, just a teensy bit, because she's mad Petra the Potato Cat did not really get her time in the sun? A little bit, just an teensy bit. She's a little bit peeved by it, but that's not the only reason at all she's doing this, okay? So that's her main issue. Is she wants to be like, we are together. I see a crowd of such beautiful and different and diverse faces. And we can't just be represented by a fish, because we all love so many different things. And in my time in office, I want to elevate those things we love and share them with the world. That's kind of what she's got going on.
Wow, that's a hot button issue.
It's a hot button issue.
Because that's going to be people who really do want, like, because, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, there is more to Crispy. Like, this town is obsessed, but as we know, the town, there's a portion that's very obsessed.
Yeah,
it's just Crispy.
It's been like, yes, we will keep Crispy as a strong part. I keep changing her voice. I don't know what her voice is. We will keep, and nope, I can't decide. We will keep Crispy as one of the main members. She's got a voice and she talks. We will keep Crispy as one of the main. Like, he'll be important at the public museum still. Mm-hmm. This isn't her voice. Whatever voice I did first is her canon voice, because that one was good and I can't get it back.
really think that, and I don't know if she ends up having an edge or not, but I like this idea that she's a sweet talker, but she is kind of like a little bit of a planner, a little conniving, because like, you know, this isn't.
I just want to say for the record, her election to office would not result in the eradication of Crispy of this office, because we are the gods of this universe, and I will not let that fucking happen.
Yes, correct.
Crispy will still be important. It's more just the Clatfartburg Cultural Hall of Fame would be created. That's more the outcome. You know what I mean?
Basically.
Crispy still lives on this giant fucking billboard that watches over the whole town. So like he's important. You can pry him out of my cold dead fucking hands, Mrs. Parsnip.
Overnight either.
I'm like mad at my own candidate. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Crispy's fucking great, because I'm a Crispy defender. And I made someone who doesn't agree with me, but I do like her plans for animal agriculture and bike infrastructure. So
exactly. And that's where she's able to pull in that group, because we know that Clatfartburg hears so much about their nature. Oh, this is good. I bet does she get sausages on her doorstep? Because I could imagine people getting mad about it.
I will be establishing a cabinet of both anti-Crispy and pro-Crispy people to advise my policy decisions. And everyone's like, no one wanted that. We don't want that. This is not
like,
something
we're going to hug out our issues.
Yeah, we will discuss. I will not be eradicating Crispy. Yeah. So the anti-Crispy people are pissed, because they're like, we want you to be hardcore anti-Crispy. And it's like, I don't know. You know, she's very much, she's kind of playing moderate on this issue, which I want her to be. But that is what she is running on. And it's driven mostly out of self-interest, I'm going to be honest. But there's a little bit of truth there, an eensy bit of truth there, to kind of spotlight the diversity of Clatfartburg.
Oh, boy.
Oh, and then there's a community that's like, Crispy's getting canceled for not being woke. It's like
the social justice warriors can't handle our fish.
They want to take away our talking fish. Crispy can't say Merry Christmas anymore. He can't say Merry Christmas. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Twitter, sorry, X is just like filled with so many like...
I don't like that they have access to X and Clatfartburg. Like, I know it's fine, but, you know.
Yeah.
No.
Ew.
Elon Musk does not exist in this alt reality.
This is the thing. That's why it's pointless, because it's like 10 people on X doing this, and like nobody else is like, like no one's checking that, because it's Clatfartburg. So it's really just, there's no point.
Clatfartburg is mercifully free of Twitter discourse. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's why we love this place.
That's why it's so good. We could all be like this.
Imagine if
there was Clatfartburg.
We would all have an animatronic. Okay. So Cobbleton.
Yeah.
It's about time. It is about time. Because one of the secondary things that Cobbleton wants to fix is daylight savings time. Get rid of that shit.
Hell yeah.
Tori Cobbleton says, look,
I like how each of us has some policies that we're like, I actually would like this just in general. like I actually think this would be good generally.
On this very tiny podcast platform, I would like to casually throw out that we don't need daylight savings time anymore. And,
I just think we should have a little bit more bike lane infrastructure.
Like, it'd just be cool or something. I don't know. You can look up the research, but there is a lot to back up, why that might be a good thing. Yeah, there's a lot of good reasons. It's fine. But yeah. So Cobbleton's like, so the spring forward and fall back is unnecessary. We have electricity, no daylight savings time. And then just moves on. Doesn't pause for, like, people will applause, and she just talks right through it.
Because she's anti-digital clock, which does the fixing on its own. And maybe some people get confused by traditional clocks and go to the clock shop to get it fixed for daylight savings. So that shows some integrity that she's potentially taking business away from herself.
Yes. Well, and there was the classic issue that happened on February 4th. No. I was like, when does daylight savings time happen? March, usually, right? That's when whatever those days. The day that daylight savings time happened, coming this summer, when Benjamin Franklin looked into the sky with his fancy little glasses. Little did he know he was going to change the earth. Okay. But Cobbleton, she's working with the film professor in the Clatfartburg Community College to make this dramatic claymation movie about daylight savings time. She's used it for some of her campaigns. They're like 3 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's not working great. There was a famous time that when this change was supposed to happen, for some reason, The memo did not get passed on because, again, Clatfartburg, while there is technology used with the clocks, a lot of them are just, handmade. They're not connected to Wi-Fi to automatically change. And so the hour didn't change. And that 1 hour greatly affected the rest of the day. Chaos happened that we do not have time to get into today, but just know that it was
midnight struck, perhaps
when midnight was heard. It was chaos. The secondary thing that Tori Cobbleton cares about is removing as we all know, as we've been experiencing, there's this invasive bird species that has arrived in Clatfartburg that, while being such a tiny bird, is a high production of fecal droppings.
Right.
To a point where it's become a bit of a problem. People are washing their cars and then 2 hours later, caked. It's horrible. Children are running in fear because the birds are pooping.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
So Tori Cobbleton is pushing to remove the invasive species in whatever means is possible. So it gets a little controversial because she's ready to be if you have any kind of projectile or weapon, you will be paid $100 per carcass. Bring them to the steps of the town hall.
Wow.
You will be compensated.
And
we will be rid of this species.
That is a little...
This is why it became a problem, okay? That precious clock tower. The birds like to hang out on the hands of the clock. They pooped so much and so hard, they jammed the hands. And
they weighed it down like Peter Pan on the London clock tower on Big Ben.
Yeah, but bird shit.
What a vivid picture you painted.
It's a kind of... and also I just love that this really aggressive thing has just been casually happening in the background of all of the stories we've been telling. As we've been going. So... yeah, and I imagine this invasive bird species is one of those classic things where someone was shipping an illegal crate of birds to somewhere and they escaped and now they just live here.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing issue. So Tori Cobbleton is get them out however we need to, and I'm not opposed to violence.
Animals are our friends, so let's find a humane way to direct the birds out of our area. Perhaps Faxville needs some new friends.
And everyone cheers at that. Cheers at that.
Because
and then you go to a Cobbleton.
Shit on the fucking town of Faxville. That's the hardest thing you could ever say. That's crazy. She's
let's go.
He's a loose fucking cannon.
They're Mrs. Parsnips has a bit of edge. Interesting. Yeah, people interpret it. She's aha. And they're and then you pan over to the Cobbleton campaign rally, and she lifts up the carcass of one of these birds and she goes, "It's about time. It's about time.
God.
Save the clock tower. It's about time." And people go, "Rah, rah."
Holy shit.
But a lot of but there, and then somebody goes, "Wait, do we have to kill them or can we do it in another way?" And she's like, "Whatever way, I don't care. This one was old. I just found it."
Wow.
Yes. Can I get some hand sanitizer, please? We can do it ethically. I don't care. We just need to, it's about time. Wouldn't you agree? And then a bird does fly over and poop on the podium, and it's really dramatic. It's artistic. There's a great photo of it mid-poop falling. As Cobbleton is holding the carcass of this bird, and people are cheering. It's fucking
Good
crazy.
Lord.
But she's okay doing it ethically, just to be clear. She's just, again, not good at communicating in a way that's you know what I mean? That's where Mrs. Parsnips can put the thoughts together. Cobbleton is probably same vibe of let's be nice. So she's just I don't know, get rid of it.
She just trends towards severity. She does not mention that this is a bird that died of old age.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't think to mention these things. And also, I think a lot of people at the rally...
She doesn't mention that it's a replica bird that's not even real. It's that she rented from the fucking library. No,
it's an animatronic. I want to be clear. The people at this rally are not I own a gun and I want to fucking kill anything I want. People are just mad about the birds. They do not... I want to be clear that not everyone there is like, let's kill every fucking bird.
Clatfartburg
and
has strictly under control.
yeah, like let me wear them as like a prized crown or something. That's not the vibe of this. They're just really mad about the birds and they want to get rid of them. It's just there was a moment where they're like, kill them with any weapon we have. Wait, like people have a pause moment later and they're like, that was a lot. That was a lot. And then she has to make a follow-up statement clarifying. So that's a little bit of drama.
I was speaking metaphorically.
Come on, guys. Please get with it.
Yeah.
Make the cogs need to start turning.
I was
Tick,
thinking
tick.
with my mind.
Yeah, I was thinking with my mind is exactly the energy.
Yeah.
So that's the, which seems like a bigger thing, but it is secondary because she kind of
That's
does,
her secondary. It feels like a large issue, but
it does feel like a larger issue, but she's just like, I don't know. But the big thing, Tori Cobbleton has lived in this town her whole goddamn life. And you know what she's sick of? She's sick of everyone not talking about the thing in the woods we do not speak of.
Yeah.
No one talks about it, but everybody knows about it. You find out at some point in your youth because someone lets it slip. You know, it's you have
There's
the
an
talk.
old edict on the books, you know?
Yes. And it's you know, honestly, currently there is, I believe, a law that kind of prohibits people from fully talking about the thing in the woods that we do not speak of.
Yeah. I will say for everyone, the reason I'm not reacting in shock is Elaine introduced this idea before the first episode of this podcast was created. So I've known this reveal was coming. So
the thing we do not speak of is, so this is really bold of Cobbleton to be bringing this up because, again, there are some restrictive laws around talking about it. So it's not a full censorship, but it gets really murky. This has been around for a very long time. It happened during Cobbleton's lifetime, but she was like 10, you know. So it's been out there for a while, but no one speaks about it. Some people, people do not trust those who go into the woods.
yeah.
If you go into that section of the woods, you are looking for trouble. And it's actually also prohibited to fully go deep into that section because the thing we do not speak of is walled off. It has protective layers. And that's why it's hard to know what's there because those who try to figure out what it is get stopped. There's security camera. There's a lot that goes there. It is the thing we do not speak of. And so therefore, Cobbleton can only say that. She cannot elaborate more on it, but it has great effect on Clatfartburg, and people know about it.
And she's known for her clip speaking style, so her whole point of speech was, we should talk about it, and then that's it. And you have to infer that that's what she's talking about, right? Like, it's not a...
She goes, wait a second. That was a joke. But what isn't a joke is what's in the woods. Let's talk about it. It's about time. Ding, dong, bing, bong.
Wow.
That was a hilarious joke. Ha.
Woo!
Ha.
She really sucks the air out of a room, doesn't she?
She really does. This really is, you know, she's onto something because the stirrings are happening. The thing that we do not speak of is actually, while we can't talk more about it because it is illegal, even though we're the gods of Clatfartburg, it is illegal until this law is changed.
And it's not like people are getting arrested for it. It's more just one of those things that, like, you know, you probably shouldn't do. You know what I mean? Like,
you shouldn't do because also it's it could be dangerous. It's like,
you know,
dangerous.
What happens behind closed doors is not the government's business. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it's, you know, if you're doing widespread promotion, it's like, okay, cool it down. You know, like,
yeah. Some people have claimed to have seen it. Interacted with it, and they are not the same after. They are not the same. There's a different energy about them, a higher energy sometimes. They have, I don't know, some of them have been spirited in a way.
Some people have reported dreamlike experiences, almost like seeing another universe or seeing another world upon going into the woods. And their reports are shifting every time, which is the confusing part because no one can nail down exactly what it is because it seems to be morphing and changing. You know what I mean? With time, every person's individual experiences is different, but with these broad similarities between them, it's fascinating.
Yes. And what really sparked this again for Cobbleton is that when she was going through her father's old workshop, which she had her own workshop, so she didn't go into it too often, but she was going through and she found an old logbook of orders, and she found an entry for a grandfather clock.
Whoa.
That was set to go to a client that was named T-I-T. Thinking the W.
Tit. You just spelled tit.
W. Tit. Somebody named
W.
Somebody named Tit W.
Yeah.
And she knew there was
and by the
no
way,
one
Tit
named Tit
is like
W.
a historical name in Clatfartburg. Many are named Tit.
Many are named Tit.
Do I want to establish that?
Do
I want that? Actually, no. That's
This
not
is
true.
why
I
it's
was
hard to be the
making
god
a
of
little goof
Clatfartburg.
and a little gaff. That was a little joke between you and me, listeners, but it is not canon to the town.
It's not. So she didn't know anyone named Tit.
Yeah.
She tried to find it
What a
in the
crazy
records. It
name.
didn't. But then it hit her in the middle of the night. She woke up because she has 5 to 10 clocks in her bedroom at a given point, and they do ding on the hour and quarter hour.
Yeah.
But she sleeps like rock usually, but like it's 2:15 a.m. Dong, ding, dong, ding, dong. She goes, Tit W, the thing in the woods. We do not speak of my father. And she realized there was a time, and he changed a bit. Still her dad, but something was off. And she's like, I'm ready to pull the covers off of this. So that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Now, people, the reaction to this, and I'd love your
This is a radical
input.
position. Yeah.
This is really radical. And I imagine there are a lot of people who are also like very curious. They're tired of the secrecy. I don't know if the younger generation cares. Like, I don't even know if they think it's real or if
They
they're
don't think
like
it's
very
real.
invested. Yeah, they don't. Okay, so they don't think it's real. That's fair. So they're like, okay, you're crazy.
But they might be in it for the drama to vote her in, though.
That's so true. They would love to be like, and there was nothing in the woods. Isn't that silly?
Yeah,
Or
they kind of
it's
want
like,
that.
it was just like one little balloon tied to a tree stump or something that people thought was a ghost or whatever. You know, they were going to be like, it's going to be something stupid. And then you have your people who have like lived through this era and they're going, yeah, why is the government hiding this from us? Like, what is that? If it's this close to our town, we should know. You know, we got to protect the Blanche otters. We got to protect, you know, has anyone seen sea Naster around? You know, some people report they have. You know, it's like we need to know what we're up against. You know,
Totally.
Do we need to get the Coast Guard in here? You know, it's a really big thing. You know, how do we quell it? So that is the biggest thing that Cobbleton is pushing, is that we will speak about the thing we do not speak of in the woods.
And I think Mrs. Parsnip has no rebuttal because she doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't even want to mention it as an issue.
She just doesn't even address it.
She doesn't
okay,
address
wait,
it.
you ready? Here's a reporter. Mrs. Parsnips, I have
Yes?
a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your opponent, Cobbleton, wanting to open up the discussion about the thing in the woods? What is your stance currently on the thing in the woods we do not speak of?
What is that?
The thing we do not speak of in the woods?
Oh, I'm not sure if I'm familiar. I'm just focused on my campaign. Thank you.
Just focused on my campaign. Oh my God. So now I would like to explore. I have a couple ideas here.
Yeah.
I can bring up some of the topics people mentioned here, which some of them are going to be funny because they almost enter like not full real politics, but goofy things, which if you've gathered from our candidates, they're not going to have straight answers on a lot of that. So let me pull those up. And I also separately, while I'm pulling this up, I would love to know what a debate between Cobbleton and Mrs. Parsnips would look like. Like, I feel like it'd be over in 30 minutes, or like it would be 3 hours long.
No,
Like, they're
it
just
would
so
be
to the
quick
point.
because she's used for children's time spans and she speaks in 7-word sentences. This would not be long.
Cobbleton is just like immediately answering the question, and people are so used to like, you know, politicians like, you know, adding some like flowery language and like relating it to like their personal story, and Cobbleton's just like,
She does.
I don't know.
I mean, Mrs. Parsnip does a few metaphors where everyone is a rabbit, and it's literally just real life, except everyone is a rabbit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's say one rabbit wants to walk on the road and the other one wants to walk on a bike. Ride a bike. Haha. If another rabbit is in a car, it can make the biking dangerous. So it's important we expand the roads to make sure all the rabbits can get to where they need to go safely. And if you think about it, the rabbits are a lot like us.
She had to print out 20 different books to be prepared. And she has a little shelf next to her. So whatever the question is, she's like, oh, let me find the book and pull it out.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for some? Actually, these kind of work as like debate questions. So are you ready for the debate?
I'm so excited.
Hello, I'm Eileen Rose, and I will be moderating this debate. My first question for the candidates. We'll start with Mrs. Parsnips. A citizen has asked, other places have nude beaches. Clatfartburg should have nude parks. What is your take on this stance?
Well, I will be honest. I do understand the right of everyone to express themselves freely, and I believe in that. But I do think we are a family-oriented town and should keep our parks accessible to all families. I think it's important, while nudity can be desexualized, it isn't here. Let's be honest. And while maybe bunnies and rabbits, their natural state is to not wear clothes, are humans, we wear clothes. And I think it's important because clothes are their own way, a way of self-expression. So I do not think nudist parks are a good fit for Clatfartburg, but maybe I could be open to it under the right circumstances and in the appropriate environment. Thank you.
Cobbleton, now speaking. In my opinion, nudity is a little scary. And if you are bold enough to be nude, good for you. There's that one section of the lake hidden behind the trees that's filled with trash. If you want to be nude there, why not? Just be nude there. Enjoy. You can get the beach and have a little bit of park. I don't know if we have enough for a nude park, but I don't know. It's about time. Clocks are naked. I don't care. Do what you want.
Mrs. Parsnips, do you have a rebuttal to that statement?
Yes, I actually think that's a very sensible idea.
Cobbleton here. I allow.
So that's the vibe that we're going with. Do we have another question?
Yes, yeah.
Candidates, how do you feel about the Clatfartburg-Faxville relations? Some people want us to have stronger relationships with our neighborhood city, Faxville, while others are wanting more separation from the boring auditors. Let's start with Cobblestone this time. How do you feel about this thing?
Thank you. First off, it's Cobbleton, not Cobblestone. I allow, though. I believe that Faxville is its own city ordinance. They only use analog clocks. As we all know, they have an analog clock tower. It is ugly, disgusting, and a disgrace to horology itself. I do not think we should strengthen our bond with Faxville and their dirty, dirty Starbucks. We have our own town. We have our own time.
Hey, Elaine,
and that's all we need.
Elaine, analog clocks are not, they're normal clocks. They're
digital
not digital
clocks.
You just were like, they use the same place we use and it's fucked.
Okay,
so just replace everything she said with digital and the point stands.
Faxville, as we all know, has a digital clock tower. It is ugly, disgusting, and a disgrace to horology itself. In fact, they are riddled with digital clocks, lots of tiny beeping, not enough tick-tocking. I believe we do not need to interact more with Faxville and that we should simply enjoy our own town, our own clocks, and, perhaps, our new nude park. I am now done speaking.
Mrs. Parsnips, what was your opinion on the Faxville relations?
Well, I think it's important to be kind to all of our neighbors, but I do also think it's important to maintain Clatfartburg's original uniqueness of what makes us, us. So I think that while Faxville, I think our level of interaction with Faxville is appropriate and part of being a good neighbor. But going any further may start to confuse our boundaries and may make it confusing. But I am open to more collaborations of a neighborly manner. Because friendship and peace is a good goal. And if we can work together with Faxville on something that maintains our identity and their uniqueness and our uniqueness, and allows us to work together as a part of friendship, I see no harm.
Cobblestone, do you have a rebuttal?
Cobbleton. Thank you. My rebuttal is simple. I disagree. Thank you.
Okay, candidates, well, I have one final question for you, and it is a big one. What do you plan to do about the Clatfartburg Botanical Garden fracking operation? Mrs. Parsnips, we'll start with you.
Well, obviously, I want to extend grace to people because I think it's important to forgive people when we can. However, what they have done to our town and our environment and the effects it could have on the climate, it's not unforgivable, but it's pretty close. So I think it's important that we pursue monetary ways for them to make things right. Because, you know, an apology, you have to mean an apology. And these people, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm not sure if they will mean their apology. So in lieu of that, perhaps we can get some compensation in the ways that we were wronged. So I think it's important for us to pursue through the legal system ways of getting back some of what was taken from Clatfartburg and ensure the Botanical Garden's new success. Take it from a symbol of something that was negative and bad into something good and happy and nice, and a new place for us to visit. Thank you.
Cobbleton here. I think this is a complicated question that I do not know how to answer. I think what I will say, though, is that is something that was in Little Woods. If you consider a garden like a wood, there are wood items. And you know what was there? Something we did not expect. But there is a thing out there that we can't even talk about, that we can't even name, that my opponent will not even address. And it is the thing we do not speak of in the woods. And so I think we should shift attention. Whatever needs to happen there, do it. Fix it. I don't know. Do it. That's what I say. But what we need to do is do that. But then also, let's look our gaze at 3:00 to the other woods, where there is something perhaps even worse, bigger, or maybe better, but I highly doubt it, based on my personal nightmares I have about it every night. I'm done. Thank you.
Oh, well, Mrs. Parsnips, do you have a rebuttal to that accusation?
Well, I was a little lost with what she was talking about, I'll be honest. Maybe I just am a little out of the loop on all the politics. But yeah, I think we should do it and do what we need to do in regards to the botanical gardens. I think that is important as a town for us to take action and take action when someone was wrong, because it's important to stand up for yourself. And in this town, it is important that we do so. I yield my time.
Well, thank you so much, candidates. As long as there aren't any other questions from the crowd, I think we're good to wrap this up. And everybody be sure to vote for your favorite candidate or write in somebody named Nancy Bacon. I'm Eileen Wurst, and I've never laughed like that. Goodbye.
Wow. So that's what the debate was. I think there's a lot there. And you know, now we know all about, I think they disagreed very minimally. Really, the only issue they fundamentally disagree on is the woods. Everything else is almost the same opinion, just a different coding.
Yes. I think it's a lot of Cobbleton's responses to Parsnips was just like, I guess do it, but no passion about it, really.
Right.
But it was just we'll get things done.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, no, the good thing is that it seems
There's more
like
that unite us than divide us.
Cobbleton does hate Mrs. Parsnips. I would like to make
you
that.
can tell, yeah.
No, I don't know if Mrs. Parsnips...
Mrs. Parsnip does not hate Cobbleton. She's peace and love. She's Ringo Starring it out here, you know?
Cobbleton goes back to like her room and it's just like, I hate her. And then goes in anger. She's made a hate clock, which is, you know, something you might not have heard of, but it's when... you know, you might go write in a journal all the things you're mad about. But what Cobbleton will do is she creates a clock that is filled with gargoyles and horrible scenes of just angry things. Nothing horrible happening, like Mrs. Parsnip's being eaten by a shark or possibly falling out of a tree. That would be a bit wild, but it's spooky.
Very spooky.
Well, those are our candidates. Do you have anything? Is there anything else we need to cover with this election?
I mean, honestly, I feel like we've covered most of it. I mean, what else is there to go over?
I feel like you guys understand the principles. So there will be a link in the description to probably a Google form, let's be honest, of the candidates you can vote for. You will be able to vote for Tori Cobblepot. That's her name, Victoria Tori Cobblepot.
Victoria Tori Cobbleton.
Yes, Victoria Tori Cobbleton. And I got it wrong, so sorry. My apologies. And Rebecca Martin, known professionally as Mrs. Parsnip. There may be a little slot where you could do a Nancy Pankin write-in vote if you feel so inclined. But, we don't know how that would shake out, so it would be a bit of a reckoning for us, but we feel like we should put the option on the table because we did establish it.
Yes. But know that you would be the person who's writing someone in on a main election. The way it would be like in a regular
there will be a
election.
button for a write-in because we are not allowing you to write in Barnacle Crispin. We will not abide by that. We're not allowing any tomfoolery. But treat it as you are making as bold left field of a pick as a write-in in a normal election. Just know that.
Yes.
Know that. Treat it that way. Treat it accordingly. Respect our idea. Respect the concept of what we're doing. Okay?
So, again, whoever wins the mayoral election, that will kind of guide the course of some events that happen in the town.
In the future.
And some things we'll cover. So that's the towns in your hands.
It is.
Citizens. And then again, also go vote for realsies if you can.
Yeah. Especially in your local and state elections, because those are really important.
You get a sticker, and then so many places give you free stuff because it's election day if you show you voted. Like, I'm pretty sure you get a free donut. There's like free drink somewhere. There's, aside from, exercising your right for democracy and helping, this country do goddamn anything. It's also nice to get free stuff if you need
That's a
other
fun
incentive.
perk.
You know what? Hot people vote.
Whoa.
Hot people vote.
Big statement.
Let's put it that way.
Well, another way to help control the fate of Clatfartburg is you can send us little emails with your headcanons. And we have had some absolute treats. This is what happens. We record these main episodes every other week. And we record a little bit in advance. So if you send us one, you don't hear it for a while. That's why. And they always come in a group. So we got to spread them out a little bit. So we apologize if you sent them. We are looking at them, and we will probably include them soon. So our headcanon we're bringing in this week is from our listener, Olive. And they have emailed us about patches in Clatfartburg. So they said, one of your 5 European listeners back with another silly headcanon. Sorry for the long one this time. The neurodivergent urge to over-explain took over. So where I live in Finland, there are these student overalls called basically jumpsuits called hallerit. Man, I meant to look up how that was pronounced before we did this, and I forgot. So my apologies there. Which university students wear. It's very common to get patches from participating in events or clubs, or just silly meme ones people order for themselves and sew on their overalls. Your overalls are also color-coded depending on what you study or the uni that you're in. They're a big part of student life, being worn to events and often associated with nightlife, of course. Fun fact, some specific bars may not let you in if you're wearing them because they're associated with being loud and disruptive, which is kind of true, affectionately. With some of the mentions of people getting patches or pins from Clatfartburg events, even though I assume you guys meant it in more of a Boy Scout sense, I couldn't help but associate it with my student overalls. I doubt it's a town-wide thing in the same way it's really common in Finland. We gotta beat the cult allegations with matching clothing. But I'm delighted by the idea of a couple of hardcore Clatfartburgians ordering matching jumpsuits with a little crispy logo and then wearing them to big town events. Maybe that's why collecting the patches is so competitive, because there's a mini subculture of people desperately trying to get the ones they like so they can wear them. Or maybe they host little events to sew patches together at the library like they do here. Anyway, I don't know if this is a reach or me projecting my student life shenanigans onto the town, but I hope you enjoyed. Olive, that is not a reach. It's canon. I love it.
So
That's
good.
perfect. I think that is 100% accurate. I think there's a group of hardcore people who collect all the little patches and wear them on their overalls. All different colors. Maybe not even overalls. Some are dresses. Some people are crazy. But, these are different ways. But I think that is a really fun way to kind of bring those patches together.
That's so fun. Also, I love that that's like a real thing. That makes me very happy.
That one's
really good.
And thank you
for staying with us, European listener. I know it's been...
I'm sure this episode was alienating with the 2 minutes of American... what's... Anthem? I forgot what that was called. I was just going to call it the motto. The American motto. But yeah, we have a bunch more ones. We have a really good one that we are sitting on just because this one's been sitting in our inbox for longer. So just keep your ears and eyes peeled. That's gross. Don't say that.
Keep your eyes peeled for this audio podcast because it's coming.
But if you want more Clatfartburg content, you can go over to Clatfartburg.com. And there we have all of our bonus content. You can get a la carte, or you can do a little subscription if you want to support us, because it's very fun. This month, we did, because this won't make any sense, because it literally is all spawned from a bonus episode. We established in a bonus episode a while back that the Public Museum of Clatfartburg, the owners of it, do a Big Bang Theory recap podcast, okay? The children, nieces, of those people do a recap podcast of the recap podcast, and we put out a full 50-minute episode of that podcast, and it's a lot,
but we're in character
the whole time,
and
we only broke twice during recording, which I think is really impressive, and I just want to give ourselves a pat on the back for that.
Yes.
But yeah, Becky and Harper, the views they express in that episode do not reflect any of our own views, because they're kind of horrible people. But, they question what animals can vote. Where does the line drawn, and simple and discussions like, has feminism gone too far? And, and smasher pads on the different museum mannequins. So those are some of the things that are waiting for you over there if you want to support us.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for visiting.
Yes.
And go vote.
Go get out the vote. Whee! See you at the polls.